Hello and welcome to episode 128 of the Wisdom from the Akasha podcast. My name is Susie, I am your host and I'm an Akashic Records teacher and practitioner. Today I want to share with you a conversation that I had with a beautiful soul that is Rosemary. I have worked on and off over the past 20 years with Rosemary in her various different capacities, and you're going to hear all about the work that she has done in that time in this episode today. And Rosemary is one of those people who not only talks the talk but walks the walk. She is truly an embodiment of somebody who has committed to her own spiritual expansion, her own growth, and is now helping others on the path. And you'll hear that we're going to talk today about her Freedom Program, which is a 12-week intensive program where you can work one-on-one with Rosemary using a variety of modalities to help you become the most authentic, regulated version of yourself. So without further ado, I'm just going to let you listen into the conversation that I had with Rosemary. I will, of course, put all of her links into the show notes so that you can book in with her, have one of her free alignment calls, see if it's right for you. And I will, of course, see you next time for the next episode. Welcome, Rosemary, to the Wisdom from the Akasha podcast. I am really grateful that you are here, and I love the fact that you have joined me for this conversation. So for the listeners, I met Rosemary 20 years ago, and I know it's 20 years ago because I used to go to Rosemary for reflexology when I was pregnant with my eldest child. So I've known Rosemary for 20 years. I have seen her go through many iterations, which we can talk about here today. But she is a beautiful soul with many gifts to offer to the world. So I wanted to introduce her and her work to all of the lovely listeners here. So welcome, Rosemary.
Thank you, Suzanne. Oh, that's a lovely introduction. 20 years. Where's that gone? I can't believe it.
No, it's awful because I was thinking, how long is it now? And then I thought, Bryony's 20 this year and I was pregnant with her. So that's how long it has been. And Rosemary said to me something that still sticks with me from those 20 years ago, which was we were talking about my adrenals because my adrenals kept on showing up on reflexology. And I worked in corporate at the time. And she said to me, when do you rest? And I said, I do yoga, I do meditation, I do. And she said, yeah, okay, but when do you actually rest? Like, when do you have downtime? And I was like, I brushed it off. And of course, I was like, oh, well, I'm busy corporate girl, flying all around the world, doing all of this very exciting stuff. And then, of course, a lot of my work since having my own health issues and things has been incorporating more and more rest. And that voice always pops up in my head of saying, Rosemary was telling me this 20 years ago just by feeling my feet. So I should have listened a lot earlier, but it's still there in my mind. So I would love for you to share with the listeners a little bit about your spiritual journey. I know it's been quite an exciting journey and lots of things have happened, but I would love for you to share that with the listeners first of all.
Okay. Thank you, Suzanne. Yeah, resting. Gosh, I wish I had my own advice. I am having to, just talking before we came on here about the fact that I injured myself and it's actually made me fully rest. And in that process, it's been really lovely because I've been just allowed to really be. And all of my work that I do now is all about being rather than doing. So anyway, yes, my background. I started in this business in the alternative health industry back in the mid-80s as an aerobics and gym instructor. That's where I
I
started.
love that.
Yeah, and it was, I used to wear the leg warmer and all the yellow gear. I actually put the first gym in Ireland that wasn't a man's sweaty underground gym. First, like leisure centre, private gym, if you like. So it was a whole new concept at that time. So that's where I started. That was in 1985. So it's been a while. And when I had my children, my youngest daughter, who's now 33, developed anaphylaxis and serious eczema as a baby. And I went down the allopathic route and all the steroids and creams. And there was a realization, hold on a minute, if I don't put this cream on, it keeps coming back. So it's not fixing it. And then with the anaphylaxis as well. And it was disturbed. Her life was just all disturbed. So I went back to college and studied alternative medicine, which incorporated reflexology, aromatherapy, all the essential oils. What else did I do in that course? All the different types of massage. The counseling was incorporated, shiatsu. So it was a very broad covering lots of different areas. And it really helped me help my daughter Before I did that, I actually did Reiki. So my first introduction actually was to the sort of spiritual realm and something other than just what's going on here on the earth plane. And at that time, Reiki wasn't really known very well, and we weren't even allowed to use the word or say that because people wouldn't get it. And I couldn't put the word stress then because you couldn't associate it with working. This was back in 1992, 93. So it's quite a long time state has changed beyond recognition as to how the corporate life for everybody is in embracing with the stress and anxiety that comes along with working in the office environment, as well as every other environment in the stress or every aspect of people's life. So I moved to the Isle of Man, which is where we met Suzanne, and I have opened a clinic. So it started out being the Reiki was from me because I started getting panic attacks with this child who was, I couldn't let her out of my sight in case she touched dairy or there were nuts anywhere and it could kill her. So, just me to be in a state of high anxiety and stress. So Reiki was my go-to at that time. And so it became like I did it all for us to get better. I think most of us in the healing arts have had something happen to us, have something in our family or ourselves to put into this field. But say in my work now, everything outside us is for us. And I had a clinic then in Douglas for the past 25 plus years. And always I moved on. I started doing LP, I've done EFT, I've done body code, I've done emotion code, all of those to enhance what I did. And I noticed over the years that one of the biggest things, people coming to me for stress, anxiety, adrenal fatigue, etc., that it all came back to the thoughts in the mind. So everything comes from there, which creates dis-ease in our body, which then creates some maybe physical sensations or symptoms that we then go out and ask for help from there. But everything comes back to our thoughts. And for me too, I've had my own journey in all of this. And along the way, there's been many with different things that I've learned. But the biggest one, I think, has been breast. And that's about 10 years. I experienced it about 15 years ago, but it didn't grab me at that time. But I was in Brazil about 10 years ago. My daughter had set up a retreat center there, and I went to stay for 6 weeks. And this woman came to the center. She didn't speak any English, but she was offering breath work to all the women. She'd been guided to come to the center. So I experienced breath work, and it was like I'm breathing, that I'm crying like I ever cried before, thinking, where this comes from. And I was fascinated by it. And I was fascinated about how I felt afterwards. And there was no conversation. So I didn't go into any stories. So then I had a second one a few days later. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. And I also, while I was in Brazil, I had looked at plant medicine. After doing the breath work, I was able to go and do ayahuasca. And that was profound as well. But it was the breath work that allowed me to that. Something shifted. There was emotion, that was trauma that was held on to, control that I had that got to be this during the breathwork sessions. I came back from Brazil and a friend of mine had brought someone on the island, big then, right? There wasn't many breathwork practitioners around. And I experienced a breathwork session. I thought, I need to train in this. And so I looked up where to go. There were only a few trainers. There was Stanislas Grof and Dan Brule, and then Gitin Tonkov. And he did one which was called Biodynamic Breathwork and Trauma Release. So he did TRE as well at work. And I really thought, wow, I like that. And it was in Poland. So it was nearer for me because a lot of them are in the States. So I did his training with him over a period of 18 months, but I found it fascinating. It was amazing. It really helped my clients. I started doing workshops, retreats, and it's gone on and on there. In the last couple of years, there was still a lot of mind here, and I studied Course in Miracles as well. And that really helped shift my perspective. And so I started using that, not teaching Course in Miracles as such, but using the perspective, the non-dual thinking, a lot of work, and like undoing projections that we all have. And with my clients that I work with, it's changed people's lives. It's really been amazing. And so I've developed, it's called the Freedom Process. And I have a 12-week program, one-to-one program. People can come on my 12-week program with me, and it's weekly. They're given homework. They have contact with me on WhatsApp. And I'm a somatic practitioner using breathwork. And I help people to come out of their stubbornness, their overwhelm, so they can find their way back to the calm and peace and inner freedom. I help them to really come out of the busy mind, back into the body and feel. And it's also all of this, we reset the whole of the nervous system. Yeah, and it helps with repeating patterns and come out of the loop and the cycle of emotions. So that's what my program does. And I'm actually, Suzanne, I'm just putting together a 6-week short cohort. So in a group online, do the same thing to really get people into it, using the breathwork, using the teachings, and helping them to understand the drum triangle as well. Yeah, with homework and everything else. So I've just been that together. I'm hoping that will be, haven't gotten that yet, but it'll be probably mid-May.
Thank you so much for going into it all. I think it's so important because I know in my work, one of the things that people struggle with a lot is, of course, dealing with the ego. My ego's called Bob. Listeners know we talk about Bob all the time. And it's when you're coming to a spiritual practice like meditation and they say, I want to be able to shut my brain down. And you're not going to be able to shut it down. I know that from the perspective of the people who I work with, and certainly the program that you're creating, what you're doing is you're bringing in the body. And I think this is such an important thing to note for everybody, that so many spiritual practices are about spiritualizing. They're about transcending, escaping the body, ignoring the body, getting rid of the body as if it's some bad thing that we have. And actually, spiritual practice is supposed to be embodied. You're supposed to be taking your body with you on that journey. And what I love about the program that you've created is you're honoring both aspects. It's the honoring of, okay, we have this body and this body has gotten us to where we are now. And it also has all of this stuff in it that we've brought with us because we haven't been able to feel, we haven't felt safe. We've done all of this. And it's kept us to this point, and we have to acknowledge that and work with that in order to be able to have a more peaceful existence, a calmer presence, a quieter mind, to be able to create that distance with us. So I love the fact that you've incorporated all of that in. I think it's very important. And of course, I love your breathwork classes. This freedom program that you're doing, it is available online for the listeners, isn't it? It's not something that you just have to do in class. Okay,
no,
awesome.
It's both. Just on that, this is really important one, just what you mentioned there. I spend a lot of my time during all the programs, the trainings, and just the healing as a healer, or I just like a healer, as a therapist, trying to do the connecting, being connected. What happens is then we don't actually connect to the body, we're out of the body, so we're constantly associated. Right. And it's really important. We came here. We are a spiritual being. We're here to have a human experience. And if we're constantly trying to go back to that, to actually having the experience, then you're not actually experiencing. The whole point of it is to feel everything. All those sensations that we body want to be felt. And when we feel them fully in a very safe way, because this is what I teach, it's so important. It's one of the most important parts of the work I do. There's lots of breath work out there. I really like to make sure that people feel completely safe in their body with me. So we find that. So resourcing is paramount. And then we allow ourselves to just feel into what needs to be felt. And when we welcome it, all of the sensations, all of the feelings, and then we can drop the stories, take the labels off and drop all the stories and just feel, it alchemizes, Suzanne, and it changes. It allows your life force energy to come in. So then you're completely connected to the earth and you're connected to the heavens. So you're in that place of, that's where we want to get to. So we're not trying to avoid this. We came to feel this. And this, my program does. So all that feeling, when people come see me, they often say, I'm feeling anxious and anxiety. And I say, what is it feels all this in my body. And we're completely disassociated. We don't know how to feel it down because it wasn't safe to feel. This is what happened to us in this experience of being on the planet, maybe previous as well. And what's beautiful about your people that are listening to us, we understand the connection So we bring that in, we connect to source energy, we ask that to be witnessed with source. Everything is witnessed in source. And when we witness it, it alchemizes. So it's not trying to get rid of it, it's actually connecting to source. We are a drop of blood and just want to be that, but at the same time feel it.
I think that's so important, because one of the things I think that, especially in the modern era, we have access to more information than we could ever need. We have very busy lives. We can be distracted and entertained at the drop of a hat. You don't even have to move, and you can have all of this at your fingertips. And that's all great. And that's all part of the human life that we've all co-created. However, we can tend to overanalyze ourselves, and we can tend to over-label ourselves. We can tell ourselves so many stories about why this has happened, why we feel stuck here, etc., etc., etc. And talking about things is part of the healing. Absolutely. And I'm all for that. There definitely comes a point, I've certainly seen in my journey and with people who I work with, that the talking isn't the full story. We need to get into the body, and especially for women, I find women are remarkably adept at repressing emotions and switching things off and just powering through, because they're a mother, they're a caregiver, they're just whatever they've been conditioned to be as they grow up. And I think that the acknowledgement back to the body, and even just allowing an emotion to come up, which you do in breath work, and not getting why is that there? Because your brain's automatically going to go, why is that there? And you don't have time to do that in these sessions. You're just allowing it all to move through and process through and be transmuted. And then you feel the benefits afterwards. But I think it's really important for everyone who's listening. Don't feel bad if you're constantly distracted. Dissociation, that's literally how our world is set up. We have to make that conscious choice to go, okay, distractions away. I know I'm dissociating. Now I've got to spend some time with this body, and the body is divine too, from source consciousness too. These human bodies are some of the most fascinating things that you'll ever come across, and they get us through so much. I always remember when I grew up in the 90s diet culture, and women were remarkably awful to their bodies, myself included. I ignored its sign. And then when I had my medical issues and was forced to stop, I remember just having to think about my body and all the amazing things that it had done for me. Not just creating my children, which is a miracle in itself, but all of these different things it's done for me. Every time I'd been sick, and it had helped me through. And I thought, wow, I'm supposed to be working on unconditional love. And how can I be working on unconditional love and showing unconditional love if I'm being horrible to this form that I'm inhabiting for this lifetime? It was such a kind of realization of just how much the body had gotten me through. And then it was like, right, now I can take the time to unstick everything that I've stuck down there every time I've repressed an emotion. And I personally think breathwork is one of the best things for that, because it helps to get you out of the head and into the body. And it always makes me laugh, because obviously every breathwork session you do is different, but still to this day, what seems like such a simple instruction of just keep breathing actually isn't a simple instruction, because you realize how much you go to hold to brace when an emotion is coming up. And you always say at the start of the session, just keep breathing, it's okay. And then you find yourself, you're bracing. So I love the fact that you're offering this and offering it to a larger audience. So not just those of us who are lucky enough to live near you and by you, but also online as well now. So that's good.
Yeah. I've worked online quite a long time. I went online COVID hit. So I did a lot of online at that time. I was doing probably 2 a week. Most of them were free then, because it was just, everyone was so stressed. And lots of people used to come to the classes, and it was amazing. It was, and it helped a lot of us through it. So yeah.
So Course in Miracles you've mentioned as well. Lots of the listeners may have come across Course in Miracles, we may not have done. It's a text that was a channeled work. I can't remember the lady's name, but it's a channeled work, and it's written in quite a difficult style, is what I would say.
It's iambic pentameter.
Yes. So it's quite
the same style as Shakespeare. So same.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
That. So anyone who has horrors of studying Shakespeare at school, you might find it a little bit difficult, but I know it's been a very helpful book for a lot of people on their spiritual journey. So if you could talk a little bit about what you took away, you were part of the study group, and I think that's a really helpful way to actually study or go to a text like that to have people to work.
Yeah.
What do you think, if you want to share with the listeners, what you really took away from studying that work and how it's helped you evolve and expand in your own journey?
Okay, Course in Miracles, and her name's avoided me as well. I can't, but anyway, it'll come back to me when I'm speaking, I'm sure. So I found it. I tried to do the Course in Miracles about 5 times over the last 20 years. I get to about lesson 5 or 6 or maybe 10, and then it would just disappear. And then I ended up in a group sitting, and it was really helpful because it kept me on track. Because it isn't easy, as you say, it is a different language. It is a difficult language to understand. But there's a reason for that. It takes you out of the mind. Yeah. You don't need to get you don't need to get it. If you just follow it and do where it says, it takes you, it goes into your system. It like helps you to see through it. And it is a book of forgiveness, and it is a book of unconditional love. That's the whole point of it. And it's wrote it with, Jesus was writing it with it. That's its words. And if we take away all religion from Jesus and just see what his words were and how he was telling us that we were God, we were just like him. That's what he's saying here. And it's really about forgiveness is forgiving the self, getting who we are. We've forgotten that we are part of the oneness. Yeah. And so this book helps you to remember who you truly are. And in it, we also realize that everything is on our movie screen. Every situation, everything in our lives is a movie screen, and we're watching it. And for us to remember who we are, there's a lovely story. It's a guy on the North American Indian. He was on the beach one day, and he was looking at the sea. He was watching, you know about this? He was watching the waves, and they were being very peculiar, and they were going in different. Well, it's not it's not a dolphin. I don't know what it is. His friends were all looking, thinking that's not our usual movement in this. And so they gave up in the end, and everything started eventually. So we've never seen it. The reason that so we couldn't see it because it wasn't in his being. We've never seen it. So what I'm saying this is with Course in Miracles is the same. It's if we see something or we're triggered by anything outside of us, right? And there's something here that we need to heal. It's that thing about pointing the finger, putting one finger, but there's 3 pointing towards. So everything is for us to keep ourselves, is to see what we need to heal within the self. And most of it is forgiving ourselves for forgetting, because there is no forgiveness of anyone else. We can't blame anyone else for anything that's happened. Everything's happened exactly as it's supposed to. And I know that can be very difficult, triggering people, and it does take time to go through that. And that's why stories, when we feel something, we get a sensation. The whole point of what we're learning here and in the program that I've created is when you feel triggered, it's about the story. It's not about them. It's about this sensation that's being triggered within you, that you need to feel, to allow it to be seen and witnessed by source and yourself, and then it's healed. Yeah. Most of the time when we're triggered, we push it down there. It's someone else's fault. It's this, that, or the other. That's what happens. And we push it down because we don't want the sensation. So we hold it in our bodies. And every story and every situation that's ever happened to us, I'm not saying that anything that happened to us in the past really hurt us, should have happened. I'm not saying that. And awful things have happened to people and they should never have happened to them. But the thing that happened is over. What's left with us is not the story, but the sensation. That's where we need to go to heal. And you were talking about earlier is we talk about it. And there is talking is important. We had to get our story to figure it out. But then it's like we need to drop the story and we need to feel something. Because we just, all we're doing, we're talking. And I found it with lots of people that have come to see me. After a while, you just realize yourself by going into a story again. And it's not really helping. Whereas we just need to feel. We do that through the breath, as you say, just breathe. There's the breathing. And I just keep saying, keep breathing, but also need to feel safe. So that's what working with me helps to do that. It really makes sense. Yeah.
I love that. And is there any ecstatic dance going on in the Freedom Program? Because for those who don't know, Rosemary is the one who posts the ecstatic dance that I go to, and the listeners know I'm a big fan of this practice. It's one of those that really, you will meet Bob in many dresses when you try to ecstatic dance and you try to let go, and brain wants to kick in and ego wants to kick in. But when you can let go, in ecstatic dance is one of the most freeing things that you can do. So for those who don't know, Rosemary, can you tell them about ecstatic dance, the benefits of it, how it works? Because obviously I've only been to a few, but I'm loving the process so far.
Great. I've always loved dancing, but this dance, it's a somatic practice. We use amazing music, so it really helps you to stay with your body. The practice is to just allow yourself to express yourself through your physical body. You know, children, they do it beautifully. They'll just dance any way they want to. But they also, even being as terrible twos, like lying down the floor and just letting go, that's another way of expressing. So with ecstatic dance, it really takes you out of your head. It really brings you into your body, and it just helps you to really feel your body, feel the joy, feel whatever comes on. People during ecstatic dance can rage appear out of nowhere, can be crying during a session. And it, again, it's moving the energy, because all emotion is energy. Emotion is energy in motion. I have clients now that pick on some music. They've heard some of the music that I play, and they'll just shake their body. They're feeling really tense. Can you let go of having to have it a certain way?
I love that. It is so important. I know as I get older and you wake up and you feel not as good as you might have done 20 years ago, I have to have that hour before doing anything where it's all about, okay, body, what do you need from me? Okay. I call it my sacred hour. So it's guides. How do you want me to be of service today? It's having that time and that space to move everything through so that you're preparing yourself for your day. I find it really helpful to do that. So this is a question I ask everybody. What is one go-to practice that you would offer the listeners? So if they're maybe new on their spiritual journey and maybe they've never done any somatic work before, and they're like, okay, this all sounds great, but where do I start? Because we know if they type it into the internet, they're going to go and find 8,000 different things they can start with. Where would you recommend if someone's never done any somatic work, any breath work, anything like that? What would be that one practice or the starting point that you'd suggest?
Okay, the starting point, just to bring you out of your head, would be breath awareness, I think. So when the mind is busy, if you have this, like, you remember it, maybe if it was on your phone, it's, okay, what's my breath doing right now? It's something that's with you 24/7, every moment of every day. It does your breathing for you. You're able to think about it, but you can actually watch it. So what's my breath doing? Where is it in my body? Can I just notice the air coming in through my nostrils? Is it warm? Where is the breath in my body? What's moving? And just those few simple questions, which takes you straight out of your head and whatever story you were in. And so just a good way to bring you back into your thing. The other one that I use, and I use quite a lot, is my head gets busy. I'll just go relax my tongue. I know that sounds a bit mad, but relax my tongue. And it stops, it immediately takes you out of your head. Right. It's breaking that monkey mind, like going at 100 miles an hour train. And anyone that starts working with me, you will hear me saying, don't pick up the ticket. And also, your listeners have awareness of the self. So it's can you get some space between your thoughts and the truth of you? Yeah, because your ego mind is not who you are.
And something I think that I find really interesting is lots of people are aware of their higher self, their soul, everything that's going on. And they can know that they're not their emotions. So they can say, I'm experiencing anger or I'm experiencing sadness. But when it comes to the thought, the ego mind has really gotten a hold of them, and they don't realize that those thoughts that are coming in, they can choose, like you say, to take the ticket or not. The thought can come in, a Bob thought, so you're not good enough, you're not worthy of this. And it's up to us, the awareness behind that, to say, okay, I'm going to take that in. Actually, okay, cool, that's a very strange thought that I've just had, and let it float out the other side. people seem to find it easier to do to create that space and that distance with emotions and find it much harder, I think, to do it with the mind and the ego. And I think it's the pure speed of it. It's the speed of it, it's the intensity, it's how much it's going on. We don't tend to go from anger to sadness to happiness in the space of 5 seconds. Our emotions are a bit of a longer form, whereas I think with just the speed that thoughts happen. And
Yes.
by actually
It's
getting
practice.
and getting into the body and then observing these thoughts coming in, and then you start to realize, wow, there's some wild stuff going through.
But it's not yours. It's not yours.
Exactly. And
It's
the
just popping up.
stories. Yeah, and the stories, and
Yeah.
you're like, you can hear your maths teacher who told you at age 7 that you'd never be able to do maths. So now you're convinced it can't do your own bookkeeping. And it's, why am I even buying into this? But it
Yes.
is, and it's, I think the somatic practices really help do that because they help you to go into that position of witness or that position of awareness rather than I'm stuck in the story. And we all get stuck in the story. Certainly,
Yes.
I know I'm not sat here, and I know Rosemary's not sat here going, oh, this doesn't happen to us. We're some enlightened beings. What we're saying is we know where you're at when you're stuck in that. We know when you're burning out and you're all of this going on. We've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. And what we're doing is we're sharing with you the ways that we've helped ourselves and our clients. And Rosemary's helped her clients work through this. And she's created this beautiful program, which of course I will put into the link into the show notes for everyone to go and have a look at so that you can help. She can hold space for you to go on this journey for yourself. That's what she's offering here. Thank you so much, Rosemary, for being my guest today. I truly appreciate it. I will put all of your details into the show notes, but where do you prefer or how do you prefer people to reach out if they've maybe got questions about the program, if they want to understand a little bit more? What's the best place for people to find you?
Either I can give you my WhatsApp. I find it easy to be able to want to WhatsApp me because it's really handy, or an email me, and they can check out my website, my one-to-one program website. And just if anyone's interested in this course coming up, that would be really lovely. It's starting to the middle of May. So love to hear from them. And thank you very much, Suzanne, for having me on.